So I don't really have much to upload lately. It's mostly because in order to do new videos, I have to update on the old ones that I haven't edited yet. So I'm trying to go through the old footage from when I was still at the old house of all the stuff that I was doing with the computer. So I'm going to try and make a playlist or something to keep this organized because it's everywhere. But essentially there was the thermal issues that I was having with my computer editing video with a Corsair case, and I switched to NZXT. And then the glam video edit that I made of actually building the computer, but I never did any recap videos since that point of switching over to Linux. When I made the custom 1080 Ti, issues with Linux and fixes that I found for it, installing DaVinci Resolve on Linux. There's tons of things that I've recorded, I haven't actually edited them, so that's basically what I'm going through, is the old footage. So I guess this one is going to be the graphics card. So this is forcing an NZXT Kraken G12, G13, I don't remember what it's called, the GPU bracket. It's forcing that with an M22 Kraken cooler to fit because they're not compatible, but I got it working, so there's that. Enjoy. Okay, time for the graphics card. So first we're gonna unhook these. Now this guy down here. Oh, that's a big boy. Okay. Overclock. I didn't know that was there. I'm just gonna put that off the side for now. We have the Kraken G12 and the Kraken M22. Now these are not compatible. Why? I'll show you. Fan, 92mm. All the brackets, hardware, and the bracket itself. So the actual GPU chip is right here. So this is going to go right about there. However, this fan, they don't make RGB options for this. Not bad. If I take a 120, I should be able to fit it up here if I make a new mounting bracket. So that should fit fine. Covers most of the GPU on this side, and going straight down, it's not going to interfere with anything on the motherboard. But I'm also using a vertical GPU bracket, so that doesn't matter at all because of the height difference that we actually have here. So we actually could fit a 140 on this if we really wanted to, which is excessive because this actually works from videos that I've seen. So now, going back to this bracket here, normally the way this works is you would take N to AMD, and this means NVIDIA. It is a 1080 Ti, so we're going to use these guys. This is going to attach to the GPU, and then this attaches here. And that spaces out the all-in-one cooler from the actual die on the GPU itself. Gives you the proper height and everything that you need and keeps this bracket the proper distance off of the card. However, this pump here is not your normal size. This just goes right through. So it's way too small. It comes with this weird bracket. Clips on. It just goes right through. It's not going to be able to attach. And now normally, general Asetek coolers, the cooler goes in and this attaches to it, or the cooler attaches to this. So now this is not your normal Asetek cooler height. This is a Corsair one, so obviously it's proprietary. And instead of using those little pegs that actually go into the back plate for the motherboard, They're probably included in this kit somewhere. But take those pegs from the motherboard, which are essentially these. So that's your height. So it's going to be going from the motherboard height to the maximum height that you need for the cooler to apply adequate pressure to the die, which is basically what this is. So this right here would be from here, and then the cold plate here would be onto the die, and this connects to the motherboard. So as you can see, the height isn't that far off. This is a little bit lower though because it's a Corsair, so a normal height one is actually a little bit taller, which it's actually about that standoff taller. So that means that it's almost the exact height that we need. With that information, we should be able to attach these to the GPU where we need it to go. And then we can attach this bracket directly to these. But you'll see that the holes don't line up. So to fix that, we're going to use this bracket. If you look straight down, it's going to be kind of hard to see, but see this hole right here, how we can just see the corner of it? And it goes up and it's just touching the corner, and that one's just touching the corner. And then we go down here to the bottom. You can just kind of, I'll move it up so you can see there, but you can just kind of see the opening. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it to right about there, and we're going to hold this position and tape it into place. So I'll do this in the garage after, but for demonstration's sake. So we'll pull it. That's going to center this perfectly to where it's supposed to be. And because this cooler is just a smaller version of a normal Asetek cooler, it'll still be centered exactly where the die is on the GPU. So now if we just kind of mock this up quick, just for demonstration's sake here, flip it over. Now we can see that these holes here are blocked off. And all we need to do is mark those and drill them out. And then once we've done that, we have our new holes. We just mount this directly to the brackets. Just like, perfect, just like that. And then we're gonna take this bracket and put it right on top. So we're gonna take these screws and they're gonna go through here, and they're going to go through the new holes that we'd be making and into the bracket. And that is how we're gonna be holding it all together. So obviously it's not centered, but it'll actually be really clean. It'll look somewhat the way it's supposed to be, just with this weird bracket instead of the other one. But the thing here to notice, even though we're adding onto the back of this, it's not going to add any more downforce onto the actual die of the GPU because the distance is always between this and this bracket, and that's the only thing that matters. So we can actually add this on top. We could add like a little plate to cover this if we wanted it to look neat. We actually don't even need to use this at all, but I'm going to because of the fan, and the fan actually works really well. Realistically, we don't even need that. We could actually put these onto the GPU, drill this bracket out, put this bracket on, and we can hold the water cooler on the GPU, and it's going to work the way it should. We're going to take these out to the garage, mark them, cut it, take these with us, and these screws, just so we can make sure that everything lines up the way it's supposed to. And then once we're done that, we can start disassembling the graphics card. So we're in the garage, got the loud heater going, and get some pieces of tape. We just need to line that up the same way we did before, just making sure we can just see the edges of all the holes. And that will be perfectly centered. Oh, I moved. It's a lot harder than it looks. Okay, there we go. We're golden. So that's centered. And some more tape, because I was going to mark it and then take it off, but I realized I don't care. So I'm just going to tape it in place, drill right through. That's how we're going to send it. There we are. Okay. Now, flip that over, grab something to drill into, and then we can just drill that out, and it will be perfect. I hope. I'm actually going to grab something. I don't think I have a punch. But I think I have one of them pointy things. This little pokey doodad. This guy. Not the most graceful thing in the world, but it'll work. Pretty well centered. Yeah, that'll help. Not a center punch, but it's better than nothing, I guess. Now, drill. And now, I have a really weird drill bit set, so I'm not sure what size this is. It's just called a number 25 HSS, 0.149 of an inch. So do with that information as you will. So one down. I'm going to use a little dab of cutting oil. There's going to be a little bit more cutting that we have to do. We're going to need a Dremel or something. Screws are kind of tight because of whatever they use for the powder coating on here. Just kind of builds up in threads. So I'm just running these thumb screws in and then back out. So I can just kind of work off some of that powder coating. See on the threads, it's going silver a little bit. So that'll make it easier to assemble because the tolerances aren't going to be perfect considering I'm doing this with masking tape. This is going to go through here into this guy, and now this one's going to go through here into this guy like this. So that is essentially our finished product. So now these brackets on the bottom again attach to the GPU, so that's what those are for. And then this attaches to those brackets, so now we can put the M22 on the 1080 Ti. This bracket is actually going to have to get cut when we put this in, so now you can see that the holes line up, and you can actually see right through it. And everything's nice and centered, and it's all good. But the only thing is, the bracket's sticking out. So now, we have to cut this. Well, we only have to cut the bottom, or whichever side we end up putting, so we have to look at the cooler to see which orientation this goes to. I can't remember, because it'll either slide on the cooler and then the lines come out, or it goes on this way or this way, so we have to figure out which way it goes on, and then we can trim this around to actually mount that on, and then we will be able to put the screws through here and then onto this bracket. So that's essentially what it's going to end up looking like. So we have the screws going through into the bracket, which go into the GPU, and then the cooler is actually going to get mounted into this first, so we'll put the cooler through the G12 bracket, then attach the M22 bracket. We can put the whole thing onto the GPU, and then just screw it down, just like we normally would. So now we have the M22 here, and we want the logo to be facing the right way. It's kind of hard to see, but it says it facing up with the hoses on the right side. So now this bracket goes in this way, because it goes in towards the lines. You can see that the channel stops there. So the opening to the right. So we need to cut these brackets off here. So when we line this up this way, I need a marker. Black. Excellent. So we're going to need roughly that much clearance there and there. And I don't have the body for the hacksaw either. Oh god, everything's missing. Okay. That sucked. Alright. That's one. Now number two. Not the most graceful solution in the world. Now the grindy boy. Okay. That can go there. Just like that. So now let's just test fit this back together, just to make sure everything is good. It all fits together. It looks fairly factory as to how it should. And then this part here bolts onto where the GPU goes. So now the only other thing to do is that there is a little bit of a hump here. Not that it's going to matter that much for the install because this piece isn't actually touching. So this can actually go through, so that's not interfering. It's this little hump right here, this little recessed area. It's making a bump on the back. So it is actually touching the bracket, and the bracket's floating on that. So that is going to add a little bit of a deformity to the bracket. But like I said earlier, that's not going to matter for the distance between here and here. And that's all that matters. So to make this bracket fit just a little bit nicer, we could cut that area out. So we could trace out on the back here and just make like little lines. And then we could actually cut that area out and make just a little floating section. The entire thing will still be structurally sound because it still has all of the metal going in between it. So just those little sections would be cut out. We could actually grind those down and then they would be fine. So essentially, everything on the inside of these lines is going to be in the way. I can undo all of this. So everything on the inside of these lines is going to be in the way. It is just a little bit thinner I wasn't getting rid of it, but I've removed probably half of the material. If you look at the thickness over here compared to over here. So that should be enough that it can actually sit pretty good without warping. Oh God, where did I put my coffee? My life is over. Now we can disassemble the 1080 Ti. First thing we want to do is disconnect the fans. That's really in there. Okay, here we go. Let's take these out. Even pressure. Okay. What is this thing stuck on? It was just the silicone pads that was holding this on. So after I was able to remove that, everything is fine. There's 4 Phillips screws here, 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 and here. We just have to take those off. So we just put that aside. This to go back on, and this is going to mount here. These are in the way. We're back in the garage. Looks like we're going to have to do more cutting, because when that bracket's on, these are going to hit. So we need to cut from here to here. Pretty well from here all the way over. And from here. So let's just quickly measure this. Okay, so it's about 3/4 of an inch. Actually, it's exactly 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so that's pretty much our line. 2 inches exactly. Wow, that worked out perfect. Okay, we're solid. So I'm going to cut this weaker end first, because once it's disconnected from here, it's not going to have as much rigidity. I can put it like this, but now I can't see. I can try that. Okay, there we go. Next. Oh wow, that bent. It's okay, I have a plan for this. There's more to come. Okay, so that's perfect. Oh, that's actually perfect too. So those are exactly straight. That doesn't look right. Yeah. Perfectly straight all the way across. Wow. Final modifications, hopefully. This bracket can go on. Right. Perfect. And all of those holes line up. Oh, beautiful. There we go. So now, with that taken care of, we get to put these brackets on. So like that. One plastic washer. Another plastic washer. And the bracket. All right, next. Wait. What? Why did that not line up at all now? It had to be the outside holes. I probably should have taken apart the GPU first, because that doesn't fit. Back to the garage. Okay. I need metal. Super VCD. Do you guys remember VCDs? Video CDs? That's metal, right? We need to take this. Similar thicknesses of metal. Good, good, good. So we need to cut basically here, like that. pretty much there. It's going to do like a light mist over top, and it's going to leave an outline of this bracket, so I know exactly where to grind off on the inside. Now we have a perfect outline. Okay. Here we go. Those line up perfectly. Now I just got to cut down that bottom. That is it. That is our bracket. That's good. That's good. Okay. So this goes through here. We have a ways down to go. We're not out of water yet. There's a hefty gap between these brackets and the actual die of the GPU. So right here and here. We can take some off the bottom, but we really have to watch, make sure we don't go too low and actually connect to any of those. But this essentially means we can remove the entire top. So we'll start there. So I guess we can start by just hacking off the top, because it's threaded all the way through, so that'll be enough threads to actually mount to it after the fact. I just cut off the wrong one. And now, for my latest trick. I'm going to take this fan, and we're going to make a 120mm fan bracket. So we'll just utilize one of the corners that's already made. So that should be fine. This can just go in here. No. How am I going to do this? Okay, so hold that. Cool. All I've done so far is the same thing that I did with that bracket when I was cutting out the middle, where I just kept removing material. And I ended up making this hole here using a DVD. Just kind of like tossed it in, which is basically the exact size. And then I just freehanded a circle inside roughly, probably about 2 or 3 millimeters in. So then I just freehanded a 2 or 3 millimeter circle all the way around. And then I took the existing 92mm holes, and then I put 2 screws in there to hold that in place, pushed this up to this corner, drilled a hole here, put another screw into it, and now that's holding it right now. Those screws are going to end up being replaced with something a little bit shorter later. I may just end up cutting these screws, because frankly they seem to be working really well. So now all that's left to do is just cut this piece here all in there and just kind of like make this new bracket part of this forever. Now it fits a 120mm fan. Medium strength thread locker. Some screws that are a little bit more shallow. Now I just want to grind those down real quick. That's it. Finished product. I will paint the back first. This is already done. These are done. So that should work out pretty good now. So since NZXT makes this in white, which is the one that I had, which for whatever reason was $40 Canadian, and the black one is like 70, so it's almost twice as much for the black one for some reason. And the fan is black and gray. I figured, you know, let's go with gray. So that'll just go right in there, and this little bracket goes right underneath. Right about there. So I think that's gonna work out just fine. Now we finally get to assemble the whole thing. Things changed. So this fan here was the one that I thought I was using, but it's actually the one that's for the cooler itself. So if you take like a regular fan screw, they don't do anything because they have these rubber inserts. Because this was the fan for the rad, and the one that I put on the rad was the original case fan. So we're going with an all black fan. This is the fan that we'll end up using. I'm not sure if I want the cable routed this way or if I want it routed across the top. Decisions. So once this is on, I have to take the entire thing apart to take this fan off because this goes on first. I'm just gonna have it come with the middle. That way I can potentially cable manage it on that little loop that they give you, or put it with the hoses from the all-in-one cooler. I don't want to completely tighten these yet, because I'm not sure how good the tolerances are, considering most of this was done by eye. The fan in there, got the wire to put wherever we want, down and out the bottom, or across the top, looped around the back, tons of options. Next is to install this again. So I also left this one gray. Kind of accidentally ordered a milling machine, so I'm gonna actually mill these down after, and then we'll probably repaint this again. So there's gonna be a revamp on this GPU down the road. And now I want to leave those kind of loose so we have some play if we need it. Now this one I messed up. This all the way down. I'll flip this over, the washer on. Just want to pull this tight until they're at the same height. That's good. Now we can. That sucks, but it's what it is. Needs to go through here like that. Now this bracket. Oh god, I probably should have given that better tolerance. Flip it over. That's it. Awesome. Now we have to install it and cable manage everything. Ugh. Slide this in place. I'm gonna need to get that hub because I only have 2 internal USB connectors. I'm gonna have to plug this in. I've unplugged the RGB for this pump, but everything else is still plugged in, so it'll still work. So for testing purpose, that'll be fine. So the pump, I'm just gonna quickly run over here. This fan, I'm gonna run over here. Just gotta actually plug the pump in. Protective cover off PCI Express. Now I need power. Oh, that is heavy. This thing is no joke. If I actually cut a channel in here, I can actually fit the hoses right out the top and probably get them out of the way enough that it won't be blocking this cooler or fan, something like that. Yeah, and then just cut a little notch and it's good, but for now, the glass will probably just press up against that. It'll be fine, probably, maybe. Okay. Wow. I can't believe I fit all of that in there. Oh my god, it's lighting up. Okay. was that about? Is it working? GPU 24. I can't believe those temperatures. We actually did it. Okay, so that was how to put a Kraken M22 onto a Kraken G12. And I made so many mistakes through that. The first thing, if you're going to be doing this, don't cut the wrong side off the bracket like I did. Take apart your GPU first, so that way you can actually size it up to the proper holes that it's going to be using, and not just assume that they're going to be the closest ones like I did and then have to make an entirely new bracket because you already cut the factory bracket short enough to fit behind the G12 but didn't drill the holes in the right place. If I could do it again, the two things that I would have to do would be drilling the holes in the outer holes on the G12, not the inner ones, and then make sure you only cut the top standoffs on the brackets. But other than that, it's been going for like, I don't know, 6-8 months, whatever. Like tons of video editing. I had it overclocked to 2.1 gigahertz or 2100 megahertz. So for whatever reason, GPUs are still in megahertz. Which makes no sense. Anyway, yeah, it holds stable, like consistently, without any issues at all. So I would highly recommend this modification. And the whole reason for all of this was because what I mentioned with the thermals in the first video, where the i9 gets so hot when it's overclocked at like, well, I've had it at 5.3 gigahertz on all cores, but usually when I'm editing video I want stability, so I keep it down to 5 gigahertz on all cores. So I need the dual rad to cool the CPU. That thing cooks, like it gets hot. And in the old build I was pushing like past 90 degrees. This setup here, I have two 140s on the front, two 140s on the back, push-pull configuration. It cools it down pretty good. And then here, the 120 in the back, because this case doesn't fit a 140. So basically the two things that NZXT could do to actually fix this issue and make this case into like the ultimate case, at least for video editing, because the GPU doesn't get used as much as the CPU for video editing. Either make it so it fits a 140, make this 140, so make the case wider, which would also allow for 3-slot GPUs to be fit. And then you could just fit the regular 140 Kraken cooler with the G12, and then you're just golden. You don't have to do any of the nonsense that I did, which would be super cool. Make a 120mm cooler with a regular Asetek mount, so that way it just bolts up. You don't have to do any of this. Or the third, and which would actually be a really cool option, is if they just made an upgrade kit. They could literally make more money just by selling another kit. And all they would need to do is include 4 brackets. It would just have to be the shorter brackets for the NVIDIA and the AMD graphics cards, so that way we don't have to cut them. Have another CPU bracket that goes on that's specifically designed to bolt onto the NVIDIA or AMD bolt pattern set from the lowered brackets. So 4 brackets and a new plate that goes around that. They could sell it for like, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 bucks. Like hell, if it was 20 bucks, I would have bought it. There's no reason that it shouldn't be compatible, because clearly it's working fine and has been for a really long time. Also the 120mm fan. So you can see down here, it's kind of hard to see because I got all the lights off, but so the PCI riser right here, it's literally level with it with the 120. And given the height difference here, they could make the bracket a little bit taller by like, I don't know, 5 or 10 mil. And that would push the fan up, which would make it basically exactly parallel with the bottom of the bracket and the GPU. You know, make a bracket kit, maybe a new G12 revision,
just slightly higher, and then you can fit a 120 millimeter fan. I don't know, you know, if NZXT's watching, bracket kit. I already have all the dimensions already made. We can measure them, sort it out. You guys don't even have to do the legwork. New bracket for the M22. You could sell those all day long. Anyone who wants this case for video editing, at least, because graphics cards create less heat for video editing. M22, all-in-one cooler solution for both of them. Super clean, everything's NZXT, looks bright good. And now that there's a 120 fan on here, there's also the option of having another RGB fan, just because, you know, RGB. I have a lot of other videos that I have to edit before we can get back to current today time and I can start producing more newer videos. Most of this happened because I was doing that video on the Nubia Red Magic and I ran out of space. I have like almost 30 terabytes of space. So I gotta get rid of some of these old videos because they're taking up a lot of space. Like this is the example of how full everything is getting. This one video, the one that you just watched, not including these clips that I made on my phone and not including the final render because I haven't encoded it yet, 595.4 gigabytes. That's how much footage I recorded with the GoPro, start to finish, over 3 days to make this. And I only have 462.9 gigabytes remaining. But yeah, I don't know. That's cool. So one down. That's enough rambling. I have so many videos to edit. So leave a comment or like the video if you liked it, or dislike it if you didn't like it. That's cool too. Or what's the other one? Subscribe. Yeah, do that one. Or don't. I don't know. I'm not telling you what to do.